Good evening. It being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call the January 28th, 2025 Conservation Commission meeting. I'm going to announce that this meeting is being recorded by Area 58 and can be viewed on YouTube. First order of business is going to be reorganizing the board. We lost our secretary, so typically when we have a change, usually somewhere around appointment time, but now that we don't have a secretary, I'm going to be looking to reorganize the board as the board sees fit. So first order of business, I'll be looking for a motion for chair.
I make a motion for Alan to be chair.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we have any discussion? We'll go to a vote. Paul?
Aye.
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 Aye, zero. I'm looking for a motion to go for co-chair.
I recommend Kathy to be co-chair.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Third order of business is going to be the position of secretary. Each committee needs a secretary. I think times have changed, but the secretary really doesn't take the minutes anymore, but secretary does have to read, or should be reading, some of the board's materials into the agenda. So I'll be looking for a motion for secretary.
I recommend Paul.
I second.
Oops. Well,
Well, if you're
you
can
have an option to either to accept or to decline.
I'll accept.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Unanimous. Okay. Next order of business, and I'm going to, this one will be fairly quick. 0 Monponsa Street, map 95, lot 10. We got a request for a continuance to our next meeting for this particular matter, which is DEP number SC 1710586. I'm looking for a motion to continue.
I put a motion, we continue 0 Ponce Street to our next meeting, which is, what is it, the 11th?
February 11th.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay. I've got a kind of a full audience. Is everybody here on the same issue? Everybody on? Okay. What I'm going to
He's here for everything.
Okay, what I'm going to do, where this is discussion, unless you want to sit through the whole thing, why don't I kind of take care of them, then we can go back to 0 Monponsa Street and 111 River Street. Anybody have a problem with that?
No.
314 Plymouth Street. Update. I'll make an announcement and then I'll turn it over to the audience. We have deferred 314 Plymouth Street to council. I know the council was working on it. Council has drafted a letter that needs to be approved, and then that letter will go out. And I'm not going to get into much detail other than the fact that the letter has got to do with compliance with or the lack of compliance with both the Stormwater Management and the Wetlands Protection Act. And that's as much as I can share with the public. So if anybody's got any questions or concerns, I did get an email from Mr. Alger yesterday. If you want to address that, we can.
I'm Alger, 340 Plymouth Street. So I sent an email to all of you. And basically, it's the town's engineer, Pat Brennan. He made the comment during the planning board meeting that the easement at 340 Plymouth Street needed to be in place prior to any of the developments to be constructed, either at the Starbucks or the storage facility. So I hope that is what your legal counsel is working on. And
I'm going to say no. The easement wasn't part of it. Unfortunately, the easement was the first set of easements. At the beginning of the street was planning board easements, and they were granted easements for parking, That's the best of my recollection. The easement that you're talking about is shown on a plan, but quite frankly, I can't find anything in the record other than I read Pat Brennan's comments. I think his comments went on to say that this project had to be built in conjunction with another project there to determine or to make sure that all the runoff was going the proper way.
Well, the way he was describing it, from my perspective, was that Pat said that the arrangements that Mr. Peck had with us in regard to building the storage facility would install that easement of drainage through 340 Plymouth Street. That would need to be installed prior to the development of Starbucks. Not in the same words, but that was the gist of it.
I spent a lot of time, Caitlin, we spent a lot of time trying to review the file, trying to review meeting minutes, and we're kind of lost. The plan does show an easement. The third easement, first two easements are ones for parking, planning board. I don't find any stormwater approvals. So that third easement that shows on the plan should have been outlined in some order of conditions. I do not have any order of conditions for any stormwater.
Okay, so, but the water that drains off of Starbucks goes into a ditch on 314, and then it goes into 340. So, I mean, that needs to be cured.
Correct. That's what we're in the process. Again, I have an application for stormwater. Reviewed all the minutes. I find something in the order of conditions about cleaning some catch basins, but I don't have anything concrete.
That's fine.
I don't have any approvals for stormwater.
We'll just go a different direction.
Yeah, well, that's what we're working on with council. We're trying to sort it all out. And it's the only thing I can really say now. I know Caitlin checked today, the letter's being drafted.
Should my council get in touch with the town's council?
It's probably a little premature
Okay.
at this point. I mean, you can, if he'll talk to you. I don't know that he has all the facts yet. You sent him, how many documents? About 100 that we can go?
Yeah, at least. I sent everything on file for 314 that we didn't have.
And that had to have been over 100 pages. And I don't believe at least we have not sat down and reviewed any of the plans, and the plans really tell what's going on. So I think it's a little premature, but that's up to you. When the letters go out, I don't know that they're public records when they go out. I'm hoping that'll go out next week, and I'm hoping that we'll get some sort of answers. I mean, we've been trying since October with letters, requests, enforcement orders, and we've gotten no response.
We have not been responded.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? 314? I'm going to go to 340, just while you're here. I did get a chance, just 340 Plymouth Street, everybody knows there's a flooding situation. I decided to keep it on the agenda until there's a small issue, which I did see with the driveway apron. But I'm going to ask the board that I think the highway department did a good job with correcting the problem, so I'm going to ask that we send the highway department some sort of letter thanking them for solving most of the problems, not all of them. So that's all I really have on 340. So, anything else? Anybody else? Before I start with my 111 road. Address yourself.
Chris Winowitz, 129 Circuit Street. Just for clarification, is 314 where Starbucks is now, or where the self-storage unit was previously planned?
It's where the
I know it was two
initial
lots.
buildings is very confusing. And we have 3, 4 addresses, half a dozen addresses.
Yeah, I believe there was 3. I think there was 312 at one point, 314, and 0
Zero.
Plymouth. So I think that involves the Starbucks, the O'Reillys?
No,
Or,
No, it's
Starbucks in the AutoZone.
oh, AutoZone, that's
Starbucks in AutoZone.
And then also the self-storage is involved with 314 as well.
Yeah, it's.
So 314 is not really clear which one it is.
Well, based on the information we have 3 or 4 addresses on filings. We've got filing for one, filing for the other. It's paperwork's very confusing. I am not familiar, and I haven't seen a plan on the self-storage.
Okay.
I don't, okay, and we haven't gotten involved in that, so we haven't looked at that plan. So I don't know the status. I've been told that it's approved. Tom will probably know better than I, but I have not looked at that plan. So I don't know what the address is on that.
I was just curious because I spoke to the building inspector today. And he had some questions like a lot of people did now that the building's been going, the site work's been going. And what he told me was the Starbucks property where all the construction is, they can keep going, but the site plan was contingent on that new street that goes in where the self-storage was, and that he would not sign off, even if they finished construction, until that street was finished, like the site plan shows. But then he was saying that they didn't have an easement yet for the street, and then there were some conservation issues. That's kind of why I came tonight to...
Okay. He's
On that
correct.
street.
It just so that everybody realizes that, and we've both spent some time with the bill inspector. The bill inspector gets his permitting power from the building code. And the building code is quite different than our local regulations. He's required to give a permit in 30 days as long as the facility has water and it meets all the setback requirements. Those are the only 2 requirements he has. The fact that building inspectors for years have always asked for septic system designs and stormwater management and notice of intents it should be part of the process, but it's not required by him. So we're trying to work through that. I know there's 2 easements on record. The 3rd easement I'm not sure of. I'm not even sure about the construction of the road. That's a planning board issue, and I don't have a stormwater plan. So, if that answers your question.
Yeah, just my concerns, because when I went to all the board meetings when it originally went through, there's a lot of concern with safety, I know it doesn't concern your board, but the traffic going on the road, and that's how,
That
when
road
they did the site plan, they were going to use that road,
to go to the,
so it doesn't end
to
up
the
like
light at Stop and Shop.
Dunkin' Donuts all backed up 106, and what you look at today, obviously, it doesn't look like no road's going in it currently, so that's why I had questions.
Okay.
Yeah. And at one point, wasn't I'm just trying to remember, wasn't one thing supposed to go in first with the stormwater, the plan for the water runoff and everything else, then the second project was supposed to go in? Are they doing the second project first, then? That's what I recall.
No, they proposed.
I know that there's 2 permits, I think. There's 2 permits. One
Yeah,
for
there's
Star-
2, yeah.
One
Two separate.
for Starbucks and one for AutoZone.
Yeah.
But we have nothing, all we have is an application for stormwater, am I correct? We have an application for stormwater with no orders, and I cannot find anywhere where any stormwater was approved, so I don't know. I can't answer that. Any board have any other comments, questions? Okay. Moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 0 on Ponce Street, map 95, lot 10. This is on the stormwater management peer review. This is on the agenda because we still have plans that need to be modified. And once those plans are okay for peer review, then we will make a determination that the application is complete and we will hold a hearing. So that's just for everybody's update. 111 River Street, DEP number SE 171-0584. We're not going to have much discussion with the audience on this one, but I do want to address one thing with Mr. Russo. If you don't mind.
Of course, yes, sir.
yourself.
Sure. Greg Russo, Weston and Sampson, wetland scientist.
Let me just say one thing. I did reach out to Mr. Russo this morning, or this afternoon, based on looking at the guidance that DEP sent us. Did everyone get a copy of the guidance, the wetlands policy?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I shared with him my concerns, and I shared the fact that based on his report, and I don't know if you read, I think your report was 96 pages or something, I don't know if everybody read that report. His report is to the contrary, that the work that they're doing is within the order conditions. So my question to you, and we're just going to keep it simple, is do you still want to proceed with a amended order conditions or a notice of intent?
We are still trying to proceed with a request for an amended order of conditions.
Okay, all right.
That's all?
Okay, that's it.
Okay, sure.
I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. There's been a lot of correspondence going back and forth on 111 River Street. I hope everybody got the opportunity to read that. The application that's in front of us is to amend the order of conditions and the standard order of, the special order of conditions that was put on this particular project. If everybody has got a chance to read that, I just want to highlight a couple of things in the amended policy, then we'll go to discussion. In the amended policy, you can in fact amend an order of conditions after a public hearing if in the event there's unforeseen circumstances or sometimes arise which may cause or require a minor deviation. It goes on to say that they should provide as a narrative description of what changes have been proposed and pertinent plans. They have provided that. The issuing authority first must make a determination whether or not the requested change is great enough to warrant a new filing. And it goes on to say that this particular amended orders typically are for simple changes in a project, and we can in fact amend those orders after a hearing because there are minor changes. In my opinion, I think the changes have been nowhere near minor. They've been major changes. I don't believe that there's anything in the original notice of intent that they've been able to accomplish. So having said that, I'm going to kind of be looking for some discussion, and then we'll go to a possible vote. Anybody got any comments? And this is not open for anybody comments. This is something that the board's got to decide. I'm going to ask Caitlin. Caitlin did an inspection today. Paul had the opportunity to go with her. She might be able to discuss her as to what she saw for activities today.
Yeah,
Just
so,
hold on one just a second. I just want to point out that, and I hope everybody got one, that we have a little confusion. We did have one weekly report,
yes.
but then I got something that said there was a second weekly report. But it might have just been a typo. We did in fact get a weekly report that stated all the work that they were doing,
Yes.
which was fine. Go ahead, Ms. Kay.
So I went out to 111 River Street this morning with member Paul Doucette, and we viewed the tent where they were processing the munitions they dug up. And we went over to the area where the big depression that they're digging out of is. And I saw that they clearly marked out, I believe from the shape shift files, they used to mark out the wetlands with blue flags. So that was clearly marked. And from my understanding, they said what they are digging up now is sort of thinning out. They're not collecting nearly as much munitions as they first thought, so now that they're extending a little bit more, it's starting to thin out. And Paul, if you have anything to add, that you saw.
No, other than the fact that I don't think they're going to have to dig a hole as big as they thought. We all thought they were going to be in the original.
So I guess the real question is is the work that they're performing now beyond the scope of work that they proposed in the original notice of intent? That's the decision we gotta make. So the activity there has been, well, I think the original activity was a bobcat with a small excavator, 5-foot transients, correct me if I'm wrong. They were gonna dig by hand or dig with a machine, dig by hand, mark those particular areas, and then come back and excavate, and then they would dispose of whatever they found accordingly. Is that, I think, basically, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, to the notice of intent?
I think that summarizes it.
So I'm just looking for some guidance here as to, does the commission feel as though the applicant has gone well beyond that? One of the issues that I have personally is that we're going to be asked to sign off on this at some point. So if someone looks at the original notice of intent and then looks at the amount of work that was done and then looks at the certificate of compliance, there's not, I don't think there's a very clean, sufficient paper trail that says they went in, they did what they had to do, and now they're allowed to have a certificate of compliance. Any other comments?
Yeah, if they were mentioning about amending the original order of conditions. If they do amend it, that will be on the record and explaining what they're doing. Would that help covering us signing off on it?
No, the amended orders are what we were going to allow them to do.
Yeah.
So there's no narrative, to my knowledge, in the amended orders that gives them the ability to dig out. I think they're at 6,000 square feet. They might be at 7,000 or 8,000 square feet, 2 feet down. And they're going to have to bring in materials to supplement the ammu that's come out of the field. So I think when I did calculations and talking to the engineer, that particular hole, it's probably going to be about 100 yards of material. So but it's not open discussion. You know, this is amongst the board. So none of that's in the orders. So.
Can he add that to the orders? The current orders?
It should be in the narrative so that if someone looks, for instance, they sell this property, some attorney looks at the notice of intent and he looks at the certificate of compliance, typically that's okay. Where this has got some history, you can't, there's not a clear path that says that they excavated, all it says is they did these transients, they dug with little bobcats and little excavators, and they demarked where they were going to dig. They come back and dug them up, and they would take the UXOs off-site. They did part of that, but they had excavators, screening plants, and loaders, which was not part of it. So to follow this in 2 or 3 years, you can't follow it. That's this one.
So, yeah, so based on what you had read as the wetlands guidelines, this would not be considered minor.
Correct.
So with that said, then a notice of intent would have to be
That's correct.
done, in my opinion.
Anybody else got an opinion? I don't know if you've got an opinion or recommendation, or...
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been talking with Brandon about this, you know, since I'm new to it all. I figured getting his take, he's been doing it for over 20 years, so I've been going back and forth with him to get his opinion, and him and I were kind of both comfortable with an amended order of conditions. With the minor modification, I mean, is it a significant change in where they were digging? Yes, in the way that they were digging. Now they're using, you know, heavy machinery. I recognize that. I know in the notice of intent, there was mention in that, not the depression that they're digging in now, but by the concrete pad, there was mention of them possibly using machinery. So there is verbiage in the notice of intent with the potential to use machinery. So in talking with Brandon, I do agree with him that amended order of conditions, I think, is reasonable, because, you know, they do need to get what they need to done as far as, you know, they didn't know with the RAM plan it would turn into an IRA, and now here we are. And I mean, their ultimate goal is the same, it just sort of grew with what now they're finding. So in my personal opinion, I do think the amended orders are reasonable, but I don't know how you feel about that.
Sean, any comment? I know you're kind of new to this. I hope you've been able to read some of the information.
Yeah, I know, that's only part of it.
You haven't seen the
I know.
reports, okay.
You know, I kind of recognized in the discussions the last meeting and the discussions that we've had that they opened up a can of worms in there. They get into more than they expected. And it is a dangerous situation. You know, we're talking about explosive ordinance, and they need to move on. And from what I gather, they jumped the gun a little bit and started doing more work when they were supposed to. The work is necessary. The stuff's got to get out of there. And I think that they showed up. They said, "All right, we'll fix this." And I think that under an amended order, I think that would work. I would be happy with that, the work that continue.
Paul, any?
No, I'm happy.
Based on conversations, if someone wants to make a motion, I'll entertain any motion that someone wants to make.
Another question.
Oh, sorry.
Another, sorry. But if we don't go either direction, they can still continue right now.
They can continue,
Right now,
yeah.
so then this isn't stopping any of the activity continuing.
Correct.
This is just paperwork and how it's going to be done.
Correct. This is just following, I don't know how much of you guys really do any research for town government paperwork and meeting minutes and stuff like that. That's my issue with it. But now, this is not going to stop the process.
Okay.
No, they have an emergency certification they're working under, which is another issue, but so they can continue to work. This is a matter of making sure that someone in 4 or 5 years looks at the paperwork, knows exactly what they propose to do. It appears that it went over and beyond that, at least we knew what they were doing. And in this particular case, they can't come in and say, well, they said they were going to dig trenches. I think we knew all at the time, I think we warned them that that really wasn't going to be the case. So, having said that, any more discussion?
One other thing about that, I know when we were discussing with them, they mentioned, okay, we're going in there blind, they don't know exactly what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we wanted the communication to be a little better with the, was it,
With the-
Eco?
Yes, okay.
Ecosystem?
Ecosystem.
Yeah, better communication there. We know the scope is, okay, they're going to adjust it as they went. The communication could have been a lot better. Yeah, I could go either way on this, the amended or new order of conditions, but since, I don't know, I think going in, we think they're going to amend it anyway, because they didn't know what they're going to find.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know,
I think
go-
originally the order said they'd be in there for 2 weeks. Paul, any other points you want to
Well, I
make? You were
think-
out there today.
Yeah, I agree.
You've been out there on a few occasions, and I think you were surprised, as I was, to see some of that stuff out there.
And it's not as intense as we thought it was when we were out there as well. But
At least in that particular area.
Right.
But I think we all know that it heads, if it's east towards Middleborough, I mean, there's an area out there that grass hasn't grown for years. I don't know if that's within their scope of work, but we know that there's something out there. But
I don't think it's in Halifax, though.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, okay, and if everybody's had the opportunity, we have our pros and our cons. I'll entertain any motion that the board wants to make, and the motion would be to either accept an amended order of conditions, or we're going to require that the applicant file a new notice of intent. So I'll entertain any motion somebody wants to make.
I'd make a motion to accept a recommended, I mean, an amended order of conditions.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we have, anybody want to discuss it any further? Then I'll go to the vote. Paul?
Yes.
Yes.
Ellen, no. Kathy?
No.
No?
Yes.
Yes, okay. You got it by a majority vote, 3-2.
Okay.
We'll send out an email just indicating that, that we will move forward with an amended order of conditions. I don't know if you had a chance to read this report. I think that was 90 some odd pages.
Yeah, I did read.
Okay, okay. We will schedule a hearing for the amended order. Oh, I'm sorry.
Would it be better to speak at the hearing?
Yeah, as far as, if you got something to address for the hearing, basically, the only thing we've been doing tonight, and that's why we're living in discussion, it's amongst the board to determine whether or not they need a new NOI or they need an amended order. That decision we made. There's really no public input on that. We will be holding a hearing on, I believe, February 11th, as long as all of the paperwork is completed on the amended order of conditions.
Okay.
So then you can speak at that point.
Yeah, it's just a question on the sludge.
On a sludge?
Yeah, I saw the video of the last meeting about the scope, how much they're digging with spoils.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep that thought for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Next order of business is 266 Montponsa Street. An update on that. I just want to point out that I've gone up after heavy rain. They did make some changes in the grading. They moved the piping that was there, and I feel very comfortable they've solved this at this point. You haven't gone out again, have you?
I know.
Okay. So I think we're okay with that one. 76 Pratt Street, I'm going to turn that over to Caitlin.
Sure, so I sent out the enforcement order certified mail, because the first time I sent it out, it was not certified mail. And I did get a signature back. And I was talking to the health agent because I guess the owners came in to talk to me on Monday. However, I work over in Bridgewater on Mondays. And he said he was going to show at the hearing tonight to have the discussion. So I don't know. Let's see in the audience here.
Okay. Any recommendation?
I was hoping we would get to discuss.
Okay. I mean, we can discuss this if you want. This has been going on, I think, about 3 months.
Yeah.
We had some changes in ownership. We reviewed the addresses. We found that what we thought was 76 Pratt was announced Thompson Street address. We found, looking through the file, that we didn't properly serve them. It's my recommendation that where there's no one here, I did go out a couple of weeks ago and saw that the water was rising, the debris is still there. It would be my suggestion to commence with 21D fines, only to try to gain some compliance, or at least to get someone here, because that has to be remedied. That's my input. Has anybody got any other suggestions? Anybody?
No, I fully agree with you because they're not sure.
Any suggestions from you?
I will say with the 21D, just from a legal perspective, I feel like having eyes on it and, having photo evidence, regularly would be helpful.
No. Well, the reason I'm saying no. Based on 21D, you would need to go out there every day. So anytime you're going to issue a fine, whether you do it on the way home or you take a few minutes, you're gonna have to go in, and we can, I mean, I don't wanna go out there for a month doing 21 Ds. If you wanna do it for 1 week, if you want me to go out there one day and look, go back to the office, but you have to witness that the work has not been done.
I don't mind going by and taking pictures because it's relatively close to my house. I pretty much drive down there every day.
Then what I'll do, and we can do that by motion, is we can have both the days that you're here, the days you're not here, we'll try that for 1 week.
Yeah, 1 week.
And then see if we can gain some compliance, and then if not, then we'll have to proceed another way. Now,
Yeah, I just wanted to raise that just to make sure, because, I don't, sometimes my schedule in Bridgewater wouldn't
that's fine.
match up, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, whatever days you can't work out, if there's, I mean, we're only looking at 5 days, so if there's a day that someone can't make it, just let me know, and then I'll go out, take a look, come back, and have to write the ticket. And then write the ticket, but
Yeah, when do you want to start? Start tomorrow or start it start it on Monday? Go to
I'm going to say Thursday. I don't know what your schedule is Thursday.
Thursday, I could go.
Okay. Why don't you work together? Work it out. If you want to do Thursday and he wants to do Friday, whatever, or Friday and Monday, he can come in to the office at some point Tuesday, as long as he's got documentation. I don't necessarily. You can do pictures if you want, because most of your pictures aren't dated anymore. So the fact that you went out there and just established date and time would be sufficient. So that's clear up to you. If you want to document it, that's up to you. If you're going to take pictures, you need to use your town phone. And then what you need to do is, if you don't want to use your own personal phone to take any pictures, because that would be subject to subpoena, just so that you know. Okay, I am looking for some sort of motion on 76 Pratt Street. Whether we commence 21D finding based on the non-compliance.
I make a motion that we initiate 21D for 5 days, starting this Thursday, for non-compliance of the address that was next to 76 Pratt Street. It's not 76 Pratt Street, but it's
The address,
It's zero.
It's listed as 0 Pratt Street.
0 Pratt Street.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, any further discussion?
No.
Then I'll go to a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, 5-0. 53G accounting funding. I asked that to be put on the agenda, and that's basically for 111 River Street. And I want to go over with the staff in the office. Right now, as you know, when these applications come in, the staff determines, or the staff will send out estimates for funding, and then when the estimates come back, then they'll send them out to the review engineer, and then they get a check based on that amount. And then, once they reach out to whoever the individual is and get a check, then that's deposited, the work moves forward. In this particular situation on 111 River Street, it's way out of whack. So what we're doing is as these bills come in, she has to send an email out to Weston and Sampson. Weston and Sampson now has to go back to VH Hasiotis to get paid. I am going to suggest that we require a minimum $5,000 deposit in the 53G account. And these, based on those particular circumstances, that money will be drawn down. There'll be a full accounting made to VH Hasiotis and Weston and Sampson. It's going to take a little bit of a step out of the process, but it's going to take a week or two from someone not getting paid. And the amount of changes in this process is not what we wanted, but it's what's happened. So I'm going to be looking for a motion that would require Weston and Sampson or VH Hasiotis to make an initial deposit into the 53G account of $5,000.
I put a motion that Hasiotis puts $500,000 into a 53G account.
5,000.
Oh, what was I saying?
You said 500,000.
Oh. 5,000 for a 53G account for 111 River Street.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Also second. Any discussion? I'll move to a vote.
Aye.
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 5-0. Okay, now we're into the complaints. 22 Beechwood Road. Okay. 22 Beechwood Road is a complaint that came in regarding cutting trees in the wetlands in the trailer park. And Caitlin and I went out, made the observations. She took some photographs of the trees. I did, the president of the park did call me. I asked him to attend tonight, but he's not here. So I think, under those circumstances, I don't think there's any question that they're in the buffer zone. Actually, they're in the wetlands.
Yeah.
They're in the wetlands. It's not actually in the buffer zone. So I think the next course of action is we did not send them. We didn't send them anything in the mail. We just.
No, because you had been in contact with them, so I held off
Okay.
in hopes they would, show.
Would your recommendation at this point be an enforcement order? And with a requirement that they be at the next meeting? And at this point, I was hoping to kind of resolve this informally, but this might require a restoration plan.
Would you think sending a letter first would help explaining, if you don't show up to the next meeting, it will become an enforcement letter?
That's fine.
Or-
I personally don't have a problem with that.
I don't
No, no problem.
Okay, you want to vote? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to have the agent send a letter to 22 Beechwood Street requiring them to be at our next meeting in regard to the tree cutting complaint.
I put a motion that we send a letter to 22 Beechwood Road to come to our next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? I just want to correct one thing. We are going to be sending this letter to the organization. You can help us. What's the name of the organization at the park? The one your mom used to run?
Halifax Mobile Home Estates.
Okay, Halifax Mobile Home Estates. We have to send that to the organization. What is it, a committee? Or board of directors?
Board of directors.
It's a board of directors, okay. Having said that, I'm looking for the vote. Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
Ellen, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Paul? Aye. 5-0. Next one is 615 on Ponset Street. No one's here for that. 615 on Ponset Street is a situation where we took down a dozen or so trees, very dangerous trees around the house. Some of the trees were probably in the buffer zone. I don't know if there was any in the resource area. Big ones like
Yeah, I
that.
wouldn't say they're in the resource area, but
Yeah.
a few in the buffer zone.
Yeah, there's some in the buffer zone. We looked at it. I know you count the trees. You took some photographs. You did reach out. I'll let you explain from here.
Yeah, so I left my card on site after Chair Diaz and I did the site visit, and the owner had called me just saying, I found your card, so I explained the situation to him. And he was very respectful. He said, we just bought the property and we're just trying to clean it up. So I had asked him if he could show up to one of our meetings. He said he could potentially show up to the February 11th meeting. He said Tuesdays are difficult for him. In the chance that he can't, I don't know, is that something, we can set up a meeting with him?
If we can set up an office visit, I think initially this letter should go out asking him, basically we're required in an enforcement order to ask him to come to the next meeting.
Gotcha.
So I think in this thing, we'll send him out another letter requesting that he come to the next meeting. If he can't make that, if he wants to make an appointment at the office, based on your schedule, then at that point, we can discuss with him the next steps in the process. We're going to ask, though, that no more work be done. I can tell you that I went by again a couple days ago. They knocked the chimney down, and that blew out the whole front of the house. So the house is exposed to the weather.
Gotcha.
So, and I think we both agree that everything in that property is within the buffer zone.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't
so
know.
I did, when I talked to him on the phone, I did say if work could cease until, we have this discussion, till you come to the next meeting or we set up a meeting, that would be great. So
Can I suggest in your complaint that the part of that just add the language cease and desist?
yes.
Anybody got any questions on this one?
I don't know if you know where the house is.
No.
It's on Mount Ponce Street, very close to the street. The house is in poor condition. I mean, the trees were, I think you could reach out the window and touch most of the trees, right?
Yeah.
It was very bad. John?
When you first started the discussion, did you say these are dangerous trees? You said they're- Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's no question the tree should have come down. It's unfortunate that he's in a buffer zone,
Sure.
he needs permission. Yeah, and you could reach out and touch a 24-inch oak or
Yeah.
pine.
I went by several times, I noticed it was heavily wooded. On Google Earth, you can't even see the trees. And from the street, you can't even see the house behind the trees. And when I went by the other day,
It was wide open.
it was wide open, and they had some kid up on scaffolding with a sledgehammer taking the chimney down.
Also, okay, so I was told that when they knocked the chimney down, that's what blew the wall out in front.
He was only about halfway done when I saw him.
So did you go by again and see the wall?
I
was-
did not, no.
Okay. Yeah, so let's just add cease and desist language to that.
Sounds good.
And I'll be looking for a motion to ask that the agent send out a cease and desist to 615 Mount Ponce Street and to work out arrangements for the owner to committee to the office of the next meeting. I'll make that motion for this.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Agents report.
I believe 22 Beechwood and 615 Mont Ponce were supposed to be an agent report. Penny must have put it up there by accident.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think about the moment. Those were the only two site visits that have occurred since our last meeting.
Okay. We have, in your report, we were having an issue with one of the review engineers. We haven't been able to reach out to him. We have special order conditions and standard orders conditions which are going to be due on 0 Ponce Street. I asked Caitlin if her and I could sit down and draft those, and she's fairly comfortable that we can. There was an inquiry at some point on another individual company. I don't know if we can reach out to them and see if they want to attend, but we are going to need another review consultant. I don't know what happened to the last one. I left messages, and I think the office has reached. Don't know. Sorry to take your feedback.
No, that's okay.
Anything else?
I do know Peggy and I were talking in the office today. Outback had reached out, so I wanted to just address that with the board and see if we would love to reach out to them to also come to the meeting and just introduce themselves. And
Outback Engineering has plans that come in front of the board on occasion. I don't want a conflict. I don't want a contest between. That's up to the board. That's just my opinion. If we got a third party that doesn't work in town, that doesn't. I think that's better for the town. But that's just my opinion.
And don't we already have like 3 people, engineers?
No, we had 2. We had Ecosystems and then we had Tunk. But Tunk hasn't showed up, so now we're back to Ecosystems. And I did reach out to them today, or yesterday, regarding some of their proposals. I heard comments from a lot of the engineers, because I know them, and about pricing. And Ecosystems has taken their proposals and broken down, so the applicant or the engineer can check the box. These are the services they provide, and I think that's going to work for a little while. And I think it was basically on meeting attendance. You know, I think if the commission feels that on a septic repair, that they need both the engineer and a review engineer to go over a line on a septic repair, I personally don't think that they need to come in at that expense unless somebody else disagrees.
I'm pretty happy with Tico's.
Yeah, so, then, you know, on the bigger projects, which we've got ecosystems on the bigger projects, yeah, we do need their attendance. So I think we'll kind of leave that for the homeowners. And I think the bigger projects or the smaller projects, Tunk's proposals have been lower, so they've been doing. So, you do have, who do you have in Bridgewater?
We've used LEC. We have, let's see, names are escaping.
That's okay, that happens to me. So, I mean, I think we should give her the authorization if she wants to reach out to whoever's out there. Like I say, hopefully there'd be someone that doesn't really work in town, so there's not a big conflict.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do some research on that.
I'm going to have the name for you. I'll get, I'll touch base with you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think everything seems to be working fairly smoothly. I mean, Kenny been here about 3 months, almost?
Almost 5.
5
Yeah,
months.
but
Wow.
I think everything seems to be working reasonably well in the office. We're getting the projects online sooner. I think we've gotten enough information so we can make decisions in 1 or 2 meetings versus half a dozen, so I think pretty good. I think one of the next steps is the girls in the office can kind of decide, or we'll work with them on the review fees and how much the estimates are going to be. Because they're substantial when we're looking at some of the plans. I don't know what, over there in Bridgewater, are they getting the same kind of numbers for reviews?
So we don't peer review every hearing that we have. So we're in the process right now, one of our projects, they're thinking of getting a peer review because they're unsure of the wetland line. It's kind of complicated.
I think we'll be there, but I think we got another 6 months. I think, I'm hoping that, you know, we've done a lot of inspections, that within the next 6 months, that you'll be able to identify, especially on a septic repair or new construction, you'll be able to identify the soils, identify the species, and then on those particular projects, we won't need a peer review. I don't think you're ready for that tomorrow yet. But, you know, we've done a lot of site visits. We're going to have to do some more again. I think Thursday's going to be cold, but we've got 20 Ridge Road and the old Summit Street that we'll go out and do some site visits on. It'd be nice if we get an order. I don't know. I don't know if
We
you
had
did.
one, we used to have them.
Did we? They're $500.
Or maybe I probably did, maybe not.
I'll look in some closets. I'll see what I can
Yeah,
do.
see if there's
Maybe it's
something
tucked away somewhere.
You know,
Yeah,
and then we can come out and we can do. There's an app on the iPhones that can tell what the species are.
I did download one of those just, you know, if I'm unsure of things.
Okay. And I can work with her on the soils. I've got experience with the soils, so and it's a combination of 2 things with the wetland lines. It's going to be soils and species. So I think the next 6 months will give us a good, as long as the ground's not frozen, we get an order. It's a good training experience. Okay. And any of the board members that might want to attend when we come, just let us know. All right, bills.
I think I got one bill. It's on mine. There's one WB Mason.
I made a motion that we pay the bill to WB Mason for $31.91.
You looking for a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Yeah, we checked that. Okay, we checked that. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Paul seconds, yeah, vote, no discussion.
Okay, no discussion. I'll go to a vote. Paul?
Aye.
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 Okay, 5-0. Now, what these meeting minutes are on here?
It says carry over the next meeting, not completed.
Okay, because she usually sends them out. I'm gonna say, I did not see them. Any other business? Okay, meeting minutes, we're going to pass over on them January 14th. Is anything else any of the board members want to discuss? John? Ooh, you. I did reach out to John the other day. It's not within our jurisdiction, but I think we need to keep an eye on it. Dead birds on the pond. I noticed a few, and I know the Board of Health has gotten some complaints, so I've kind of asked John to kind of keep an eye on that and follow it up, and maybe he can have a report for us next meeting. We haven't hit the newspapers, so I guess there's not more than a dozen, because I think you got to call it in if there's more than a dozen.
Yeah, from what I saw, I found there's an area of water along White Island Road that's wide open. I don't understand why it's wide open. I don't know if somebody has a bubble or something.
Yeah, they do, that's what I've been told.
But it's really long. I mean, it's really long. And at least 3 Canadian geese dead out there. I know other people reported dead mallards further down, closer to them on Ponset Street. These guys are a little further back. So I don't know if it's a dozen yet. No, probably not.
Okay, just keep an eye on for us, and report back next week. Having said that, I'll be looking at being 7:56. I'm looking for a motion to
I put a
adjourn.
motion that we adjourn for the evening.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Go to a vote?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, 7:56. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.